Let's play some hockey tonight. Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Yes, it is. It is the 37th annual Johnson & Johnson Hockey Day. I'm just carrying the theme on. Here I am wearing the 35th International Cup designed by my buddy Val. He'll be on in a few minutes, all in the support of Shoot for a Cure, which is connected mental health, stop concussions in the Canadian American spinal cord. Listen, I really think we're going to have a great day. You know why? Because we are going to be discussing the Scotia North Division. I just was on an earlier show called The Weekend Warriors with my good buddy James, Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Can't be that good of a buddy. And Ryan, another Toronto Maple Leaf. And I was by myself. And then I brought my other buddy up, Jordan, and he crapped out on me. Like, it was just crazy. Everybody was against the Gouche. When I said, and this is what I said, quote, the Montreal Canadiens will beat the Toronto Maple Leafs if, in fact, the Leafs don't sweep them quickly. If it goes into game 6 and 7 and Carey Price plays like he did in the bubble last year, I'm predicting an upset. There's going to be an upset, guys. Is it going to be Toronto? Is it going to be Pittsburgh, where everybody thought maybe they shouldn't be there? Maybe it's Washington taking that one on. Carolina, a surprise. Could Nashville bump them off? I doubt it. Would Florida against Tampa Bay be an upset? Can't really say so, even though they're defending champs. We'll walk through this with all the guys. Colorado, Vegas, Minnesota, St. Louis. The only one that I thought maybe, and Jordan did team up with me until the last minute, and I changed my mind. I thought maybe Minnesota was the one team other than Montreal that would have an upset. I'm not sure. I think the Manitoba Golden Knights, as Scott Taylor calls them, are too strong. All right, listen. I got the boys in the green room, and I got guys even beating me up already. In your dreams, Gooch, in your dreams. Here's my buddy all the way from Germany. I love Tobias. Toby, Philadelphia versus Islanders, 4-3. Good call. Washington versus Boston, 4-3. Terrible call. I take Boston, and we're going to talk about this. Carolina versus Nashville. Good pick. A lot of guys are thinking that. Flow over Tampa, 2-4. No, the only thing you need is a 2-4 because there's no way Florida's being beaten by Tampa Bay because we don't know about Kucherov and we don't know about Stamkos. And then, of course, Colorado, St. Louis, 4-1. 4-2 maybe. Vegas, Min, 4-2. I agree. I think Vegas got to eliminate them quickly. Or, again, hanging around. Minnesota could get some confidence. Toronto, 4-1. Only if Carey Price doesn't stand on his head. And Edmonton versus the Jets, we're going to have a little bit of fun with the boys down below. I think Edmonton should beat the Winnipeg Jets if it was now, but Hellerbuck is the factor. All right, let's bring them up in a row. Val Silva, executive producer. Jordan Laroche, assistant producer. James, a.k.a. Toronto jumping off the bandwagon, Glühwein.
Now.
And waiting in the wings to come up and support me in a few minutes is Paul Rosen. We're just going to wait for his counterpart, Francois, the Flying Frenchman, off the top rope. All right, let's get into it, guys. I'm going to start with this one. We're going to bring up the boys for the North Division, okay? So we'll get beat up in there. I want to go right quickly to the Honda West Division. Colorado, Vegas, Minnesota, St. Louis. Obviously, Colorado up against St. Louis. Really quickly, go around the horn. James.
Colorado, St. Louis. This is a series where I think if you're looking for an upset, this is the one you're looking at. The Blues obviously are kind of a team that's been not so great this year. Higher expectations, haven't done much, but a team that could try and pull one off here. But Colorado is super dominant, so I'm going to say the Avalanche. and I'd say they're probably going to clean things up in 5 or 6 games. So I'll go Colorado in 6.
Jordan?
I do like St. Louis, and I want them to do well, but this team, it's a little different than they were when they won the Cup. Losing Pietrangelo is definitely a big loss, but Torrey Krug, I don't think he's quite on the same level as Pietrangelo. But I do think Colorado is going to win this in like 5 or 6. It's not going to be a long series.
Val?
Yeah, you know what, though? It is a toss-up. I mean, the Avs just secured the President's Trophy, unless the only reason they lose is because of the jinx of the President's Trophy. But down in Vegas, Colorado is favored to win the whole shebang. I, too, have roots to being a Blues fan via my son. But you know what? I'll give St. Louis 2 games and make it 4-2 Colorado.
All right, I'm going to hit you with it. Don't forget Binnington, had that run. Jack Allen, who opened the door for him, is in Montreal. And I know Paul and I have had this conversation. If Carey Price can't go, I think Jake Allen, is primed. That's for you, but I think he's primed to maybe do some surprise. And we'll ask Paul when we get him up here, of course. I'm going to say this. If McKinnon is out, even though they're a very strong hockey club, if McKinnon is out for any length of period of time, it's talked about he's got a lower body injury. He could come back. We saw when it went on with Stamkos. I'm going to say that it's going to be a lot tighter if McKinnon's not in the lineup. If he is there and he's healthy, I think goaltending is, in my opinion, even though they're not proven, Grubauer is outplaying Binnington. I'm going to go with Colorado in a sweep, only if McKinnon is in the lineup. I watched them play last night. I like what they've got. All right. So, gentlemen, let's go to Vegas Mini.
I'll start this, but I have on my bracket, I got Minnesota in 7.
Wow.
I think Minnesota just had Vegas' number this year. They had a little 5-game win streak against Vegas at some point, and I think when a team has your number, there's something psychologically going to playoffs where, they're not feeling as confident going against this squad. So I think Minnesota will surprise a lot of people here.
Wow, Jordan, I want to drink that Kool-Aid. James. I'm going to check. Hang on, I'm going to test the Kool-Aid, for God's sake. James.
I could see where Jordan's coming from. Minnesota could be one of those sleeper teams. I was worried if we ended up with a Colorado-Minnesota series that they might pull that off. But I think Vegas, now that they're in the playoffs, they're going to be able to throw out their entire team. We saw in the regular season they were only throwing out something like 13 skaters or something like that because of salary cap issues. But with no salary cap, with 2 great goaltenders, the way they've been going, second place in the league, I think I'm going to go with Vegas and probably in 6 games as well.
All right. Bill?
You know what? I'm sure we all want to see a Vegas-Colorado final, but that's not going to happen. So we'll just take it for the final in that division. I mean, Fleury and Leitner just were awarded the Jennings Trophy for the best goaltending tandem in the league. I say they continue on that role. You know what? I'm going to say Vegas in 7. I'm on the fence, but I'll say Vegas in 7, but I can see Minnesota beating them. But final answer, Vegas in 7.
Listen, I'm going to go with Jordan. I know I'm going to be hit. Paul loves this because he got a 1A, 1B, 1C, and I may even go to 1D. Thinking about what's been going on and that sort of stuff, Vegas is poised to win this series. And I think, again, I know I sit on the fence a lot. Teams like that need to do it quickly. Lerner, when he's out there tweeting to the other team, hoping that they get a victory so that they win the President Cup, little concerned. I thought that was a lot of fun when he was tweeting with one of the players from the Los Angeles Kings. Please do it. But I think there's some magic in Minnesota. I think Kirill the Thrill is real. There's no question. Hasn't been in the playoffs. I think goaltending is going to be an issue here, maybe in Minnesota. So it's really toss and turn. I would have said that Vegas was going to win this hands down. I think it's going to be Vegas, but I think it's going to go right down to the wire in 7. And I know when Paul gets up here, he's going to want to say something about Vegas, and we're looking forward to that. Just before we bring those guys up, I want to go in and do one series because I know we're going to have 6 guys up here, and it's going to get a little bit ugly.
So if I may just, sorry, Kerry, it is Cam Talbot going in net for Minnesota. So,
yeah.
Okay. Fleury, Talbot.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Leonard Talbot. I just think Vegas has the goaltending edge. Well, ask Paul that. Obviously, he's been watching that closely. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to stay on this side of the fence. I want to go to Pittsburgh, New York, really quickly. That's not New York Rangers. It's the New York Islanders. I'm going to say right off the bat, unless our friend Watts gets them playing defense, it could be quick. I like what Jeff Carter's doing. I think that's, as far as I'm concerned, Taylor Hall was a big addition. But I think what Jeff Carter's brought to that team, leadership, Stanley Cups, goal scoring, I think, and Crosby's still got a little bit left in that tank of his. You can't go against him. And I think Malcolm, even though Malkin had been out for a while, at least he's been skating, not like, obviously, Kucherov and Stamkos. I think that is a team that's primed. The goaltending could be a little bit questionable, but you know what? They've won the last 5 in a row. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh on that one.
Yeah, and I am too, just because Pittsburgh's won 6 out of the 8 meetings this year. It's not a team that's had their number. Jeff Carter has come in and set the team on fire. He's almost a goal a game. I think 9 goals, 2 assists in 14 games. I think that's something you can't look past for sure. But I think Pittsburgh's going to win in probably 6.
Well, I'll let you go.
Yeah, like I think Varlamov is a lot better goaltender than Yari is, but I mean Pittsburgh's on a roll. If Malcolm's back in, he's been off, so he'll kind of be fresh. Jeff Carter is a great addition to that club. I'm going to call Pittsburgh in 6, and there should be a lot of close, tight games. A few overtime games in this series, I would suspect. So it should be a good series.
Did everyone go Penguins, all 3 of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go Islanders. I think that they got the defensive system. They have the system in place to win playoff games. They have good goaltending. They have great coaching. So they may not be as hot as they'd like to be right now, but I think that they can kind of flip that switch and get right into that physical game of hockey. So Islanders in 7. I agree. It'll be a tough fought series. You'll probably see a couple people go down throughout it, but this will be a good series to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Listen, they brought in Paul Mary for a reason, to come and help them offensively. He's looked very lackluster. I just don't think they're firing the old cliche on all cylinders right now, and it's not a time to go into the playoffs not playing your best hockey. So that it could be, but I don't want to go against Barry Trotz because he knocked me out once. I think we got to go with. I'm going to stay with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Listen, I'm going to bring the boys up. All right, this is interesting.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, rules are I'll direct the traffic just to keep you going. So, Paul, I know you wanted to say something about Vegas.
Yeah, you know what? The weird thing, I was talking to Jordan this morning, is Vegas, I think they were primed to play St. Louis. And with Colorado winning last night, they tied in points. A lot of people were wondering what was going on, because if you looked at it, Vegas had 40 wins and Colorado had 39. It didn't make sense because people weren't getting explained what happened. And what it was for everybody that was like me yesterday going, what's going on, is Colorado had 35 of their 39 wins in regulation time. Vegas had 30 of their 40 wins in regulation time. That's why, unlike Pittsburgh and Washington, who were tied, and Pittsburgh had more wins, they also had more regulation wins. I think Vegas was upset because I think they would have walked through St. Louis. I still think they're going to beat Minnesota, but it's not going to be easy. And like, guys, we always know every year, there's always an upset. There's always a crazy upset in the first round. I don't know which one it's going to be. Can it be Montreal beating Toronto? I don't know. But it can be one of them. It will be one crazy upset.
Hey, Francois, the Flying Frenchman, before we get started with you, we're not going to touch on the Montreal Canadiens. I know we're going to have a little bit of fun. Right to your left, the guy in the salmon shirt. He's a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. So I think you two will have a little bit of fun in a few seconds. Comment on, I want to hear Pittsburgh, the Islanders. Who do you pick?
I think Pittsburgh's going to win that series.
Who do you pick?
Pittsburgh in 6.
All right. And then we had Vegas, Minnesota, Flying Frenchman.
Vegas.
Okay. Colorado, St. Louis.
Colorado.
Paul?
I like Colorado and Vegas, but I also like what you said that they're not going to walk through St. Louis and Minnesota. I think Vegas and Colorado will win. It will be tight.
That might be your first round upset, Paul, that you mentioned. You never know that one.
Absolutely.
I think that one. Yeah.
Hey, listen, Shoppy, our European correspondent's coming in. Grubauer will win the cup. A little bit of bias. Matthew Meisner in Argentina, he's above sea level by about 18,000 feet. So I don't think he's getting enough oxygen. I'm not going to buy into that craziness. Or he's drinking Jordan's Kool-Aid. I don't know. Scotty, why has James not used my hanger idea? Come on, James.
I know I'm slacking. I'm sorry.
Can somebody tell me what that means? I have no idea.
No, it was just it was an idea to keep away the tops of the hangers from being visible, kind of flipping them upside down, but I haven't gone in there and redone the whole thing. So,
well, listen, and if you listen to Matthew, guys, Islanders shocked the world. Paul, do you think that the Islanders have a chance?
Well, you always have a chance, absolutely. I just think Pittsburgh's really hungry this year. I think with Malkin coming back and being healthy, the only question, and you guys all said it, was Yari in goal. Will he be able to play? I don't think he'll have to play incredible. I just think he'll have to play good. He won't. If he lets in Anderson goals from the corner, sorry, James, they're in serious trouble.
What about
I also believe it's Jari, not Yari.
Jari, yeah. Jari.
In a show like this, all of us to not get one name wrong.
Tomato.
Never happened to me. But
maybe his parents. Hey, maybe his parents call him Yari and not Jari. How do we know?
Maybe it's Yari. All right, listen. Let's get into this one really quickly. I know this is going to be fun. Florida, Tampa Bay. Paul,
that's going to be a close series. I think Florida might.
Francois, can't you read? I said Paul started off.
What does he read?
So I thought it was the Flying Paul.
Okay. Go, Francois.
Flying Rosie.
I think Florida is going to win that series. I think that's going to be a surprise, but Florida's been playing well lately, so why not? Why not? I think they're going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, that was very informative. Why not?
I know.
Paul, come on, buddy. I know you're going to get into this one.
Yeah. I think that, if you watch the last 3 games of the season, Vasilevsky did not look good. The last game against Florida that they lost 4-0, I don't know, maybe he didn't care. It was the last game, but he let a couple of goals in that were brutal. He lost the puck behind the net that I think my mom could have stopped, and she never played goal in her life. It was terrible. I really think that the options that Florida has with Bobrovsky, Dreger, and Knight, I think this is Florida's year. I think Florida is well coached. Tampa will have that little jinx of the Stanley Cup last year, and I think Florida's going to knock Tampa Bay out in 6.
Hey, listen, as we're doing this really quickly, Jordan, if you don't mind picking this up, Vegas, what was the record between Vegas and Mini for Joffrey Gardner? Thanks for joining us, bud. And he says, just quickly, Carter, great pickup for the Pit, can still skate like the wind and loves to play the game. Thank you for joining on that. All right, James, let's go to you. Obviously, Florida, Tampa. We had this on the Weekend Warriors. Are you staying with your pick?
Yeah, I'll stick with Florida. I can't flip-flop to Tampa. I was thinking about it just to throw you off there, but yeah, I think I was going to go with the underdogs Florida, but it seems on this panel everyone's probably going to be going with Florida, so it'll probably be the general consensus. But Panthers in 7, I think they had great pickups with Montour, Bennett. They got Declare in there. Both goaltenders firing. So, I mean, Tampa, there's a lot of question marks, I feel like, with Stamkos, Kucherov. If they happen to lose Vasilevsky for whatever reason, I don't think they would have much hope where the Panthers have 2 very solid goaltenders. So I'm going to go Florida. I think they've been on a roll and they're poised to upset this Cup champs.
And we may not know why, but don't forget, we were questioning why they put Spencer Knight in the goal. So they actually have 3 bona fide, not proven. He's not proven, but he's certainly there just in case. And I think you're right on Tampa Bay. Jordan.
Just to reply to Jeffrey's comment, I believe Minnesota was 5-1 against Vegas. I'm not 100%. I have to go back and check it, but
you're right.
But onto Florida. Fun fact: this is going to be the all first Florida first all Florida playoff series where both teams are from Florida. So it'll be a little interesting there. But I do think Florida is probably going to beat Tampa Bay here. 4-2-1 against Tampa Bay this year. They've had their number again, and just with that whole regular season series, Florida just they're coming there with all the confidence in the world, and I think Tampa Bay is going to get swept. Not swept, sorry, beaten in 7.
Swept.
Ooh, God.
Ooh.
Jordan, I was just going to say thanks for clarifying what the Battle of Florida or all Florida teams meant by the Lightning and the Panthers.
Yeah,
I got to start drinking that pink Whitney that you got in the fridge, for God's sakes. Val.
You know what? I'm going to go Florida just for the sake of last time Vasilevsky was cold heading into the playoffs. They were the defending President's Trophy champions, and they were kicked out in the first round. He's not on a good roll heading into the playoffs. I'm just going to go with a little past history. I know past means nothing to present day, but Tampa is favored to repeat, but I'm going to call Florida as the upset. Coach Q's got that team playing incredible, the best they've been playing in the last couple of years. They will roll into the playoffs, and I say they beat Florida. I say Florida beats Tampa. I'm going to go 4-2. That's an upset, not in 7. 4-2 Florida.
Hey, Paul, I wanted to ask you this question. Florida rolled in there with 5 straight wins, which is good. How important is it for a team to be – we know we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. They lost 5 in a row. It's not a time where you want to roll into the playoffs losing and winning or losing, obviously, in that many games. But what are your thoughts on a team on this spiral up? Tampa Bay was 3-2, 2-3, I apologize. So I believe that Florida, with the goaltending it's got and the question marks that we do know about Kucherov, everybody's saying, I think, James, you guys brought this up earlier, he could have played, but because of cap, they kept him out of it. But, he's been out for over a month. Francois, who trains a bunch of players, knows that a month off and trying to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, game 1 and 2 is going to be really tough. And we don't know what's going on with Stamkos. They're not playing as well as they can. We don't know about Kucherov and Stamkos. Paul, would you be concerned about that factor?
If I was a Tampa fan, I definitely would be. If I'm a Tampa management, I would be. I think that one thing going into it that makes me really feel good about Florida is the last 2 games of the year, Florida beat Tampa, and I watched both of those games. Tampa wasn't just joking around. Florida dominated. Bobrovsky is starting game 1. I know, Val, you and I thought maybe Grieger would start game 1. Bobrovsky is starting game 1, but he'll have a short leash because they have so many great options. I just think this year Florida is on such a roll that it is really important to come into the playoffs hot, and I think Tampa – now, me saying that, Tampa might knock Florida out with 4 straight. Who knows? But I really think all things considered right now, I like Florida.
Francois.
But if you guys recall from past years, Stamkos was never a factor in the playoffs.
Never.
So I don't think that's going to make a difference whether he's healthy or not healthy. But Bobrovsky is going to make a difference. If he has to be healthy, he cannot get injured. Defensively, the Edmund has got good experience, but I don't see Tampa getting through Florida. Florida has been playing extremely well lately. So.
I actually, if I may, think the X factor in that series is Joel Quenneville. He's been in a lot of playoff series with the Chicago Blackhawks. He matches lines really well, and he adapts really quickly. So I think Quenneville is the X factor in that series.
Paul knows that because he's a huge Chicago Blackhawk fan, and he did an amazing job.
Sorry, can I ask Francois one thing? Did you mean Bobrovsky has to be hot or Vasilevsky?
Vasilevsky, sorry.
Sorry. I didn't understand. Go ahead.
Sorry, Paul. I should have translated that from French to English. Like you said, you didn't make mistakes, Francois.
Well, I just wanted to be similar like you guys. I fell out of place. So,
yeah. Hey, Steven's coming in and joining us. Watch out for an avalanche.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's move on, guys. Here's one. I think we're going to get a unanimous here, unless Jordan's drinking too much of that Kool-Aid. Carolina, Nashville. Paul, start us off.
Yeah, 100%. You know, Nashville, the last couple of months has worked their tails off to make the playoffs, but I think that's going to be it. I think it's going to be a swan song for Rene. He's 30, almost 39 years old. Maybe Saros will start. It doesn't make a difference. This is Carolina's year. They have the coach of the year in Rob Brendamore. Everybody is just flying. I love Carolina to possibly be the only sweep in the first round.
Ooh.
Francois, make sure you get the goaltenders' names right.
I'll try. Pekka Rinne is, last. It's going to be his last playoffs. I think he's going to be in nets. But I don't think Nashville is going to go through Carolina. Carolina is a pretty complete team. They've been playing extremely well as well. So I think Carolina is going to win in 5.
Wow. James.
I'll say Pekka Rinne will not be their guy in net. UC Saros will likely be will be the guy they'll be rolling with unless anything goes wrong there. But I will agree. I think the Canes will take it in 5 or 6. I'll go with 6 just to give the Predators a game or two to sneak away. But yeah, the Canes are dominant right now. So.
Yeah, no, I thought this was going to be a Carolina sweep, but I actually just changed it before the show in my bracket, in my personal bracket, to 5 games. I think Nashville will be able to squeak one out. They have a ton of playoff experience. They made it to the Cup final a couple of years ago. A lot of those guys are still on that team. While I don't think they're going to beat Carolina, they'll be able to squeak out 1 game, maybe 2 at most.
No.
Yeah, I agree with James. I don't think Pekka Rinne's starting the series whatsoever. I think you're giving the reins to Saros. But I'll give the Preds 2 games. I love Mrazek. I still, to this day, I don't think Detroit should have let him go. Rod Brindamore, I agree with you, Paul. Coach of the year for sure, definitely. They've had a lot of good couple of years in playoff runs. I think this is their year. I'll benefit of the doubt for the Preds. I'll say a 4-2 Carolina.
Hey guys, Paul.
They had said from what I heard yesterday, Mrazek won't start game 1. It's the kid. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name.
Really? Wow. I'm surprised because he just got back.
Was it Nedjlokic or something?
Yeah.
Alex?
He has played. I saw a show a couple of days ago where Brendamore was talking about this kid. And they love him, and I think he's starting game 1. But to have Mrazek and James Reimer as 2-3, they're solid in goal.
You run the hot goaltender, just like we're going to talk about Toronto. So
first, you got to get a hot goaltender. All I'm going to say about this series, I think it's going to be quick and ugly. The only thing that I always use the X factor. The X factor is the pressure is on Carolina. Everybody's talking sweep or 4-1. I just think they've got to do it hard and quick and do it clean. You got it. All right, so I'm picking 4 straight. That's my sweep. I think Carolina's going to sweep it.
You and me again?
Yeah.
It is Friday. So
Breaking news.
Sorry, Val. I just looked, and now NHL has it as Mrazek playing game 1.
Well, either one, you can't go wrong. So I mean,
Breaking news. In the North Division.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
The Toronto Maple Leafs don't have a hot goaltender. No. The owner of the Ottawa Senators took a super yacht vacation amid the pandemic. It went horribly, and there are lawsuits. It's just broken now. He wasn't supposed to do it, and it's going to – the guy just keeps shooting that club in the foot. He's got a heck of a hockey team for the future. Why – honestly, bud.
You know what? Eugene Melnyk has done stupid things going back to when he owned the Toronto St. Michael's Majors. He is a rich guy with no brains.
Yeah, Eugene Melnyk is the polar opposite of the current New York Rangers and New York Knicks coach. What Eugene Melnyk does to the Senators, James Dolan does to the New York Knicks. They're just like mirror images of each other. Totally not thinking.
Maybe he was on the yacht.
Thanks for that, Val.
Maybe he was on the yacht. Hey, listen, let's get going. Let's do my series. Edmonton, Winnipeg. We're going to start with you, James.
Of course, you want to hear what I have to say first. Yeah, I think this will be a good one. I do think if the Jets can shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, which I don't think they can, but I do think if they can find a way to shut them down, then they'll have a real good chance in this one. But from what I saw in the regular season, I saw the Oilers beating up on the Jets a lot, and I think that's what's going to happen in the playoffs. So I'm going to go in the first round, Oilers Jets. I'm going to say the Oilers are going to win in 6. I'm sorry about that one, Gooch, but if they could find a way to shut down those two guys, then they'll win the series, no doubt. And if Hellebuck can get playing to where he can play, then they'll win. But they've lost like 7 out of 8, and they're just right now, as I'm seeing things, I just don't see them beating McDavid and Draisaitl, but obviously could be wrong. So
Jordan?
I'm agreeing with James. I'm going to go Edmonton in 6 as well. I just don't think Winnipeg has what it takes to keep up with McDavid right now. And I just think you can't really bet against McDavid on the year that he's had. 104 points, I believe. And you just know coming into the playoffs, he's going to keep that pace, or he's going to try to at least. I think he's going to have a really good series.
13 points in 4 games leading into the playoff, and he's still got. Don't forget, it's the Vancouver Canucks. And they play them again tonight. So let's see, or tomorrow night. I apologize, Val.
On paper, if you compare both teams on paper, the Oilers are dominant. I'm going to go back to when I said Mike Smith at the age of 39 has been playing really well for the Edmonton Oilers. I knew I took a little bit of chirping when I said Mike Smith is a good goaltender to be back. Just like a fine wine, he's aged beautifully. At the age of 39, he's been playing well. But it all comes down to 2 things, and I've said this for all my picks. I think goaltending, it's between Smith and Hellebuck, because the firepower is definitely on the Edmonton Oilers side. I'm going to go old school Edmonton-Winnipeg series. I'm going to go it's going to go full 7, and I think the Edmonton Oilers pulls this one out 4-3.
Well, every bottle of red wine you open up could be corked, and I think that's where Mike Smith is right at this moment. Because if Mike Smith is not at the top of his game, and Paul, you're going to be last, because I want to hear your comments on the goaltending part. I think the reason why I say that is only this: the reason why, if Mike Smith goes out, I don't think Edmonton has a backup, obviously, that has any kind of confidence in him, and I think the Winnipeg Jets have a better backup. So I'm going to stick there and certainly think that bottle of wine is sour.
Well, it would have soured during the season when he started playing.
But he's got to play 7 games. If you said he's playing 7 games, him playing 7 games at 39 at the punishment he's going to take. You'll hear my little talk once we get finished.
How many games has he played this year since he came off his injury?
Who?
Mike Smith.
He's played a lot.
Yeah, and he's still going well. I agree with you. The health is a big factor coming to playoffs and everything. But I would think that if he was going to, the health would be a factor, would have been in the time he came back from his injury to the end of the season.
Okay, we're going to hang on to that comment because I'm going to get with Paul. And Val, I love you, so I'm going to gang up on you because you are talking about my Winnipeg Jets. Francois.
If Hellebuck is is a playoff goalie. So if he can, he's going to have to steal a few games, but I don't think they're going to get through the Oilers. I think the Oilers are on a mission with the amount of first picks that they had and all the changes that they've made. They have to win that first round. So I think I'm going with Edmonton in 6.
Okay, Paul, it's left for you, but you're the only one that can be on my side.
Okay, so here I'm gonna, and Gouche, I did get the check that you sent me, but you didn't sign it. So
you better cash it.
No, I can't even cash it. You didn't even sign it. Okay, listen, guys. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull a Gouche here, and I'm gonna give you a couple of options. The one thing that I agree with Terry, and I disagree with you, Val, and we haven't had a good disagreement in a long time, is that I love Mike Smith. I've loved Mike Smith when he played for Canada. I loved him in Arizona, Phoenix, whatever you want to call it. I love him. But at 39, what Gouche says is, yes, he's played a fair amount of games this year. This is a 4-7. There will be potentially 4 games in 6 days. I don't think he can handle that. And if he can't, Toskinen is brutal. I'm telling you, I could get on the ice at 61 in my sled, overweight, and play better than this guy. He's brutal. I think if somehow, and Edmonton's done nothing. I love they got tons of talent coming up the wazoo. McDavid's incredible. He's a Gretzky. He's amazing. They've not won nothing. I think somehow Paul Maurice, who I love, will get this team mentally prepared, and I like Winnipeg in 7.
Ooh. If I may, the Edmonton Oilers and the North Division has had a compressed season in terms of games, right? Yep. So the compression and the playoffs they've had in the season. Mike Smith started 32 games. He's finished 30 of them. He's 21-6.
Yeah, I love him.
So my point is, like, if he was going to get banged up and hurt coming off the injury when he did, it would have happened sometime during the season.
I'm not saying he's going to get hurt. I'm going to saying
we're just saying, like, the injury factor, right?
The back-to-back game, that Tuesday, Wednesday, game 3, game 4, it's going to get physical. He's a guy that doesn't just stay in the crease and you bump him and you go, oh, thank you so much. He's going to block or some guy in the head, but he's going to get – I love him. I just think that it might be too much for him.
He's been a little more controlled since he got back this year, thus far, because he is pretty wild. You're right.
you guys are talking like he hasn't been trained for this his whole life either.
Exactly. He's 39.
He's a trained athlete, so I mean, he can go into that.
Okay. Now you'll hear it from the guy that knows it all.
And we're also assuming that he would play on the back-to-back. It all depends on,
you can't play Toskinen unless there's a serious illness.
At this point of the season, at this point of the year, you start the goaltender you're going to run with. You don't flip-flop. So
I agree. Yeah.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say to you guys.
Oh, look, we're out of time. Okay.
Come back tomorrow. You'll hear what I'm saying. Draisaitl said in Germany interview that their goalkeeper Hellebuck is better than last season. Wow.
Wow, that you didn't show it at the the last game of the season, but
okay. So here's what I'm going to say to you. McDavid is on fire. Draisaitl on fire. They certainly have the best 1-2 punch. Sorry, James. Right at this particular moment. Hellebuck has not proven himself up until now. He's had a couple shaky starts. But if he does play as good as he can, there's no question. You can't put Mike Smith up against Hellebuck when they're playing at the same time. My point about Smith was not the fact that he's going to get hurt. You guys all forget, it's a young team. In Edmonton, there's a lot of pressure on that team. Everybody expects them now. You guys, I've been in there. And I'm not. Again, it's not the NHL. Paul, you've been in games where the team that you're playing against is far better than you, and somehow something just clicks. Scheifele, a Connor, just something happens. Connor Hellebuck stands on his head, and for some reason, McDavid we've seen it. We've seen McDavid show a little bit of a crack in his armor at the beginning of the season where he was frustrated, and that's not like him. But if Hellebuck steps up and all of a sudden they get down 1 or 2 goals, and all of a sudden they get down 2 or 3 games, it's over, guys. So that's my point to Mike Smith, not the fact that he won't get through the series. The series is going to be harder on him because everybody knows that's where it's going to be. It's going to be won and lost in goaltending in this series.
You're right, 100%, Gooch. And I'll tell you one thing, and it was only one game, but going back to Torino, Italy, there were 12,000 fans in that crowd. Other than take the Canadian fans out, I'd say 99% thought Norway was going to kill Canada in that game, and we won 3-0. I know it's 4 games, not 1, but I do think there is enormous amount of pressure on Edmonton. There's no pressure on Winnipeg. They stunk the last 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah, I think the true crime in this series is that fans will not be in the stands because it's been a number of years since both teams met up. I think that's the true crime between the Edmonton-Winnipeg series.
James,
Montreal too.
The only thing I would say is when you're talking about this, you're saying a lot of what ifs. If Hellebuck can get back to what he's been playing, like we're basing everything we're seeing off of what we have seen recently, and what we've seen recently is the Oilers playing well and Mike Smith playing well. and Hellebuck playing not so well, and the Jets losing 7 in a row or whatever they've lost. So I think there's a lot of what ifs in your arguments, but anything's possible. What if Pekka Rinne could come back and have a Vezina type playoff season, and they could win the cup?
But James, I thank you for what ifs, but we live in a world of what ifs. And the fact of the matter is the regular season is the regular season. We're now in the playoffs. So I think you have to look at some form of track record.
Yes.
Mhm.
Whatever went in on the playoffs, write them off right now. We're not in Hellerback's head. He can get into McDavid's and Dreisaitl's head, and it can change it. What if?
Yeah.
Yes, there's what ifs, but that is a factor in professional sport. So I think we just have to throw it out there. Obviously, I'm going to fight. It's going to be really tough for me to say to you guys, it's over. Winnipeg's done in 4. I may think that, but I believe that I've got
We want to hear you say it.
We want to hear you say it.
It's called Gouche Live for a reason, and the Rosen Report for a reason. We can say what we want, and we can turn back the clock. All right, listen, let's get into, obviously, the one where we really want to talk about. And I think there's going to be more fireworks here, because I think it's going to come back to, goaltending. Let's talk about it. James, you're going to be last, kid. And then, Francois, you're going to be second last, because we know you like the blue and red and white.
Yes, James. Yes.
Respect, sacrilegious.
That's unbelievable.
You never walk on the crest and you never toss a jersey.
It actually landed on one of the basketball hoops I had set up, so it's hanging there for now.
No doubt. All right, Paul, I'll get you. No, you know what? Jordan, let's get you started, of course. Toronto, Montreal, 1979. Francois will remember that year very well. There's a lot of history, no question, in Montreal. There's a lot of history in Toronto, and the history is that the Toronto Maple Leafs have a history of not winning the Stanley Cup since 1967, and I will underline that. I think that's 42 years if you get a calculator out, and I think that's going to be a factor. That's a what if.
I don't think I think your math might be a little bit off.
Pressure on Toronto.
I was carrying the 1, so it's 44. So here's my point.
I think it's 54.
Pressure is going to be a factor. So, Jordan, just before Paul, I want to hear your logic on why the Montreal Canadiens can't and what if win this series.
I think it's gonna be Toronto in 5. Honestly, I know I said it earlier, but again, there's a lot of question marks with Montreal still. If Carey, it really comes down to Carey Price. He had a rough year to say the least, and now he's coming back from an injury. I know a lot of people are saying Carey can kind of bring back his old ways, kind of relive. That's what Carey's been saying about.
No, I agree. Sorry, I wasn't saying anything, but I agree. Yeah.
Okay. So I lost my train of thought there, but. I think coming back from an injury and having the year that he had, he's gonna be really tough to kind of bounce back from that. And Jake Allen, I don't really have a ton of confidence in, mainly from his days in St. Louis. I haven't seen too much of him recently. But that's kind of played my mind since then. But I think it's gonna be Toronto pretty easily.
Wow, you know what? You guys write off experience like it's nothing. You can have a terrible regular season, but if you're a professional hockey goaltender who is proven and won at every way, he'll play. Hey, now it's Paul's turn.
Okay.
Okay, boys. Now, first of all, I don't want to get hate mail sent to me from anyone in Montreal, Francois, anyone in Toronto, James. I was living with one of the most insane Leaf fans who's 70 years old and goes crazy for every Leaf game. I think, Gooch, it was 67, so I was 7 years old. So I think that was 54 years ago. I only got grade 6 math also. But I think
we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to make them feel good.
In 79, I remember that series well because I was 19. I honestly think, and this is no disrespect, Francois, I love you. I got so much respect for you. I just think, and I really mean this deeply, I think that the Canadiens are just done. This is not going to be a series that they're in from the start. I could be totally wrong. It's just my feeling. I think whether Price is there, Jake Allen, I love him as a human being. He's probably the nicest guy in the world. one of the most incredible bench openers from the bench to open that door. He's incredible opening that door. He's got a Stanley Cup ring, and he can open the door great. He's a great guy, but he will not be a factor. Price will not be a factor. I think that Jack, not Jake, but Jack Campbell will be the Jordan Binnington of 2 years ago, and the Leafs destroy the Montreal Canadiens.
Nobody talk. Nobody talk. Nobody talk.
Five games, and it's over.
All right. Nobody talk. Forget the numbers. Forget the numbers. The last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won a Stanley Cup, Tim Horton was actually in the lineup.
It was Dunkin' Donuts, not Tim Horton.
He wasn't making coffee. I just have this feeling of watching them both play a lot this year. I probably watched every Hab and every Leaf game this year. I just got a feeling that the Habs are done, and it's going to be done fast.
Val.
Okay, a couple of things. Jordan, I agree with you in terms of the goaltending. Secondly, Carey Price cannot just turn on a switch after having a crappy regular season. And it's like, boom, it's a miracle. I'm a hot goaltender come the playoffs. Just like any goaltender in any team, like Hellebuck could, because he has been playing. Carey Price, I do not see him getting on a roll and pulling one out for them because he's been off for too long. Hopefully he's okay coming off concussions. Secondly, Jake Allen does not only open doors, he wins Stanley Cups. Says so on the ring.
Yeah, I'm
from one goalie to the other. Open doors.
Paul and I haven't had good sparring matches in a while, so that's where it all started.
Is that it?
But in all seriousness, on paper, Toronto is just way too powerful from the defense up. From the defense up. Goaltending everything comes down to goaltending, but I think that Frederik Andersen and Jack Campbell are a lot stronger at the moment, not by much, over Carey Price and Jake Allen. If Montreal is going to steal this series, it won't be because of Carey Price. It'll be because of Jake Allen and the team playing together in front of him. But all in all, I will go Toronto. Even though I can't believe I'm saying this, Toronto 4-1 over the series.
Oh my God, I'm so disappointed.
I'm gonna.
I love the city of Montreal.
Well, you're not invited back. Let me tell
nothing else.
You know, there's a bunch of mafiosa there, so you're not coming back. All right, here we go. We're gonna let James end it. Francois, I know you're a typical French Canadian that's probably eating a baguette right now. And
what does that mean?
Wine.
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean? I'm a typical.
Because I know you got a glass of wine in your hand.
The hate mail.
Water.
I'm going to be the referee for you two, and I'll end the fight. So here we go, Francois.
A typical French Canadian. I think he means you don't stop at red lights.
What was that? Francois talking or no? Okay.
All right, I take that back.
I can't believe no one is rooting for Montreal, but it's going to be an interesting series, and where the difficulties for Montreal is that I think centermen are extremely young. KK, Evans, Suzuki, they're young kids. They're still developing and learning. But Carey Price has been resting for a long time, and all the injury players are going to come back. I think Montreal was built for the playoffs. If you look at Anderson, Toffoli, and all that, they've got good experience. And if you get, I mean, talking about the center line being very young, you know, if you get Stahl, if you're going to get Stahl, that tells you a lot of things. I mean, Stahl is not that great of a player right now, and I think that's going to hurt Montreal if those kids are not playing well. But I think the more the series, if Montreal wins a couple games, they have more chances of winning that series. So I think if Toronto wants to beat Montreal, they have to win in 5 games. Otherwise, the more it's going to stretch, like 6 or 7 games, I think Montreal will beat Toronto. So the longer the series goes, I think Montreal's got better chance of winning that series.
Thanks for taking my email this morning and saying that for James. All right, James, what are your thoughts, kid?
Yeah, so I think that Toronto will end up winning this one in 6.
Oh.
Come on, you didn't expect me to go with Montreal, did you?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have a beer.
I do think they'll go with 6. I will give credit to Montreal, though. I think if they face the Oilers, if they face the Jets, if they face any of the other teams in the North playoffs, they would win. I do think that they are building to be a playoff team. They're physical, but I do not think Carey Price is going to go through an injury with all this time off, hop into game 1 and expect to somehow give up 2 or less or something like that to the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's just no way in my mind. I believe that Carey Price will probably lose if he starts the first 2 games, and then it'll go right back to Allen. Allen will probably win a game or 2, but I think the Toronto Maple Leafs will win in 6. I just think that their team is built a little bit differently than they were. They're a lot more physical, better defense. Jack Campbell as the number 1, and Freddie Anderson or Rittich as the number 2. I feel confident with Anderson as a number 2, as an emergency backup. But the way Campbell's been playing, the way the Leafs are playing, I can't say that I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to win.
All right. So
I have a question. Do you think they're going to go with Campbell or Anderson?
They'll go with Campbell.
Campbell,
I think
100%.
Campbell.
Okay, so I would hope so also, but you never know. Like Anderson was, before he got injured, he was doing pretty well. So
Did you see the last game that Anderson just played?
Anderson hasn't done well all year. Sorry to say it. Campbell will 100% be the starter.
And Anderson and Carey Price are coming off the same amount of injury time, right? So it's going to you can see that Anderson's got the rust for sure. Carey Price is going to have the rust. So logic says that they'll go with Campbell and then get. I think they'll go with Anderson against the Jets to close out the season, but they'll start with Campbell the playoff 1 and get a few more practices. And
they're going.
Anderson.
They actually said much. Campbell is playing on tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight, Campbell is playing, not Anderson. And one thing I want to ask you, Francois, that you know the game and you train guys, the one thing I watched very closely with Anderson playing against Ottawa, and I don't think the goals were terrible, but the little things, like when he made a save and he was caught himself in a bad position, he slid out of the net and he was panicking where the crease was. I don't think you get that back in the snap of the fingers. And if they have to go with Anderson, they're in trouble. Campbell's their guy and they're riding him.
I agree. I would play Campbell. I mean, I wouldn't even think about it. I mean, it'd be if I'd be the coach, it would be Campbell. But I think Carey Price is a different goalie than Anderson. So, and he needed the rest. He got the rest. He's been practicing for at least a month. They haven't said that, but he's been practicing for a while. I think Gallagher is going to come back, which is, I mean, that kid is the heart and soul of the Montreal Canadiens. So I think that's going to make a huge difference. And Montreal hasn't been playing that bad against Toronto. And I think the physical part of the game is going to be a big factor. And Montreal is going to come out and hitting and finishing their checks. And I'm telling you, they're going to do the same thing that they did against Pittsburgh last year during the playoffs.
Is Shea Weber slated to come back at the beginning of the playoffs? Do you know?
I'll bet you he's going to come back.
Yeah. Hey, listen, is your mama, is Helen a Leafs fan?
Can't say. I think she just supports because we're in Toronto, but I don't think nothing too crazy. That's for sure.
She was jabbing you, Francois. So I just wanted to know if that was a legitimate jab.
Just remember this: Game 1 on next Thursday. The third line centerman will be a massive difference. Riley Nash. Remember that name.
Yeah.
I agree, right. But just to finish off there, all the pressure is on Toronto because they have a pretty good team, and I mean they got Spezza and they got the Thornton. If Toronto doesn't beat Montreal, there's going to be a lot of changes in Toronto. I'm telling you. Yep. So I mean they have to win. I think all the pressure is on Toronto. And that might make a difference. You
know what? I want to say this, guys. Thank you for all your comments because it's been really cool. And, I joke around a little bit. I'm still in the same position, Francois. We didn't talk about this, but you were talking my language. If Toronto doesn't beat them quickly and it goes long, I honestly believe, I know you guys are saying the what ifs, but I just look at this. The last time these guys have had any success in the playoff is 1967. So we have to realize the Toronto Maple Leafs do not have a history of winning games at an important part of the season. Please remember the second round. They haven't got past the second round.
19 years.
I agree.
The pressure is going to be on James, and it's no disrespect to you. I know you're a young kid.
No, I
around the block. I'm just really concerned of, and I would listen. I live with a person that's a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. So if the Toronto Maple Leafs go far, happy wife, happy life. But just 1 sec, Paul. Or throw it in.
The only thing I would say different to that, because I'm not a Leaf fan, I never have been. I used to hate them. But the only thing I would say different to that is that it's a different team. Matthews is world class. They've got Foligno. They've got Nash. They've got toughness with Simmons. They've got Thornton. It's a different team. You can't even put it to the last few years.
You can't think that, Paul. You played on many teams.
Yeah.
There is. Listen,
the pressure's there. I agree with you.
Why did it take 10 years for the Toronto Maple Leafs to win, and they found Barilko? That was a hell of a team. It was built to win more than one Stanley Cup in that 10 years. Toronto has a lot more pressure. Sorry?
I want to say something here.
Yeah.
I think if we're looking in the Matthews, Marner, Nylander, if we're looking in this era and the teams that the Toronto Maple Leafs have lost to, the reason they haven't made it out of the first round, they've lost to Stanley Cup teams. They've lost to the Boston Bruins. They lost to the Washington Capitals. These games went 7 series. These games went overtime. They lost to the best teams in the league that year.
So
And this team this year is different. They added Foligno. They added Simmons. They added Thornton. They added Bogosian. They have a great backup. They have things they didn't have in previous years. So if there's going to be a difference, it's going to be this year because this is not the same team or the same situation. They're not going up against the Boston Bruins.
I agree, James, but and that's why I'm saying that all the pressure's on Toronto.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard. They have to go through that pressure and of winning, absolutely winning that series. So that might be a huge factor in that series.
I think the biggest factor in the series, James, and what you're talking about, who the Leafs have lost to in the past, Freddie Anderson is not a closeout series goaltender. Look at what he did in Anaheim. Look at the last couple of years against Boston. He's had great games in between the series, but come that closeout game, he has not played well. So if Toronto's going to ride and roll, it's going to be with Jack Campbell closing out series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Campbell can do it.
And it's great. You know what? I applaud you. I take my hat off to you to stand up to the old guys and say what you just said, because you're right. This is a different team, but the results have not been the same. I remember the days when Dougie Gilmour, when that was a heck of a hockey team. And of course, it was the Gretzky high stick and all that. Toronto Maple Leafs have always come up with an excuse why they don't go deep. My question is what Francois says. I think this organization, we haven't even discussed, I think the key factor of the Toronto Maple Leafs is coaching. Is Keith prepared to sit out guys during this? He's going to have to sit out somebody. And who's he going to sit out? You bring Riley Nash out? Does Thornton play? Do you take Spezza out of the lineup? That's going to be huge factors. And the power play, who's supposed to be run by the head coach and his coaching staff, is dismal at the best. And that's why I just question that. That's the only reason.
I disagree with you on that.
You can.
Yeah, I know. I do.
But the closest that they got into that Toronto got into advancing in the playoffs was when Pat Burns was there. And do they have the same kind of coach? I love that coach. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that coach. He's great. He was great with the Marlies. He's doing a great job with the Leafs. But I'm telling you, the pressure that Toronto has right now in winning that series is going to be a huge factor.
All right, guys.
It is huge.
And if Montreal loses that series, I'm buying you guys around a beer.
Okay, I'll have an apple juice.
I'll see you in Montreal next year.
All right.
Simmons will play. Thornton will play. Riley will play. The guys that are going to sit are going to be Kerfoot. They're going to be Engblom. They're going to be Mikheyev. Those guys will sit. Maybe Galchenyuk. But the key guys, Hyman, those guys, they've got 4 very solid lines. And line 4 will be Simmons, Spezza, and Thornton.
Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, the Nylander Tavares Hyman / Foligno line. They've been playing well since the trade deadline. So
Foligno will play with Matthews and Marner.
All right, guys.
Mikheyev and Galchenyuk will be the ones that will probably rotate.
Galchenyuk, yeah, I would sit him. Yeah,
Our time
he's
has
played really
come.
well for the Leafs too this year.
Our time has come. It's the 37th annual Hockey Day by Johnson & Johnson. Couldn't have had a better panel. James, you did well, kid. I think you threw a couple of punches. Jordan, I'm going to be checking the apple juice later on. Francois, listen, I'm ordering the Molson Canadian now because I think you and I may get beat up on this one. Always a pleasure to have you. And Val, unbelievable that we can all sit here, yell and scream at each other, hang up, and still think we're all kind of crazy. I love it. All right, guys, you've been listening to Gouche Live. Don't forget tomorrow we've got a roundtable. Paul, why don't you tell us who's coming on?
Yeah, we got Josh Bonney, we've got Jamie McGuire, Kerry Goulet, and myself. Should be a lot of fun.
We'll be talking about the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hey, listen, also, don't forget, we've got Scott Taylor. He's going to give us a whole other perspective. He was at the game the other night in Winnipeg, and he was up in the press box, and he said being there with no fans really sucks. Like, it's really bad. And then the final part is Robert Wine just wants us to make sure we know. Holy bad word. Melnick broke all sorts of rules. Robert's in Ottawa. It's a big deal right now, of course, after having such a great – the Tim Stützle, those young kids going that. What a great –
that was amazing.
It's an international story, and it's taken away by this buffoon. But seriously, he rented that yacht at $500,000 a week in a pandemic when people are starving and have lost their jobs. Boom. What is he thinking? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, until next week, we'll do this again next Friday.
See you, everyone.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gouche, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.